the first thing here, we've got our demo reel. It's ancient, it's old, it needs to be updated. Hopefully yours aren't as old as mine. So, what's the first step? Well, the first step is really just cutting out anything that doesn't work anymore. And this is something where you just have to be cruel, for lack of a better term. Just go at it and go, okay, do I like this shot? And if your answer isn't anything other than yes, think about cutting it. Now, when you're first starting out, most of your shots, it might be hard to actually go yes, because you're still learning. You haven't maybe done work you're super proud of yet. So you might have to have just some stuff that you keep because, well, you need to show something. But once you get a little bit more experience at this point, that's another way of putting it, Sin. Does it spread joy? Does this shot spread joy, or is it entertaining? Is it fun? Does it show something? And if your answer isn't yes, probably cut it. So let's go shot by shot and we'll cut things down first. That's going to be step one, because this is going to help us figure out what we need to do later. So shot one, we've got this ogre and dragon shot. Well, right away I will say yes, cut. Why? It's a work in progress. It's not even done. Like the animation is so bad in here. I actually didn't, there's a little backstory on this shot. I didn't want to put it in, but someone had asked me to apply to ILM and they wanted to see this shot because they were actually my mentor, and they said, okay, you're still working on this. I'm going to show it at ILM and I want to see this shot on there. So that's why it's on here. Unfortunately, because of visa stuff, didn't get the opportunity, which would have been really cool if it had gone through. But with that said, no one else knows the reason why this shot is on here. When he was showing it at ILM, hey, Tiki, thank you so much. Oh man, thank you. Another tangent. Yes, more tangents. It was Sean Kelly. So Sean Kelly had asked me to apply to ILM. There were some openings and he wanted me to, yeah, he's super nice. So visa stuff kept me from going. They basically just went, oh, they're in Canada. Yeah, looking for someone closer. At the time, it just wasn't working out between like getting visas. So he had asked me to put that on there. No one else knows that story, which means that when I show this to anyone else, they'll go, why is this on here? Like, why didn't you finish it? I don't want them to ask that question. So no, cut it. Doesn't need to be in here. Okay. This shot. I'm actually pretty happy with this shot. It's not great. Definitely, like, I could do better now. But at the time, I felt like I did a decent job. There's a lot of things I would fix. That hand alone, that pose is meh. This pose makes no sense. It should be over here. I should have stretched his arm. Like, the line of action is weird. This is not analyzing the old animation. This is demo reel stuff. Focus. This shot, right away, I'm going to take off for one simple reason. It's 4:3. It shows its age. No, don't need it. As much as it's a good 2 dialogue shot, good, I don't need that age to show. And there's so many things that I would fix now. I really enjoyed animating the old guy though. Now, we get to this shot. I can't cut everything. Well, technically I could. But if I had to keep some shots, this is one I would keep. I feel the mechanics are still pretty good. The weight feels decent for the cat. The teddy bear has a little bit of motion to it. I'm not super happy with how it kind of flops down there. I could have overlapped it a little bit more, added some overshoot. It kind of just hits right here and then just like settles too fast for a teddy bear, it feels. So not great. But as a whole, I feel it still stands up. Now, could I go back and edit it? I might still have the old files. I don't know if it would be worth it. Maybe. I'd have to see. The big thing is, like, do I edit an old shot or do I work on new ones? That's kind of the balance that I'll have to ask myself. But for now, I think we can keep this. Mostly because I still feel like there's some good that I can get out of it. You'll get back to it, replay Blasted at 16:9 and fix the things you think is off? Or is it bad to show old stuff anyways? Typically, it's bad to just reuse old stuff and kind of just update it a little bit and then, oh, see, new shot. It's better to work on something new, actually new. This way, when you re-show it to recruiters, they see something they haven't seen before. So there is a balance. Like, for example, if I had ever finished this shot, well, definitely I would have put it back on and shown it. But yeah, it's a fine balance. And sometimes, like, there's no answer like yes or no. It really depends. Mostly I would aim towards no. And Felicia, hello. So keeping this for now. It's going to be on my list of replacing, but I don't have to get rid of it at least. Now, continuing through. This shot. I am not a fan of this shot. I feel it. Some of it works. There's some way to it. I'm not a fan of the character mod. Just there's a lot of like squishing parts that like folds that don't work too well. I don't know. We'll put a maybe on this. So the backstory to this shot is this is actually a shot that I wasn't planning to do. I was, or Cameron and I, part of, how to put this, we were helping out with some projects where basically students were working on a collaboration and some of the students just weren't able to finish their shots. So they asked us to come in and animate the shots that the students weren't able to. So this is where I came in and I animated this for someone else. So basically I had the character mod and the layout, and then I just animated the rest. So I find like for the stockiness of the character, it works okay. I do like the arcs that I managed to get through here. But then the ending, yeah, it's okay. If I have to, I could keep it, but I would much rather replace it if possible. We'll probably circle back on this once we get some other stuff looked at. Yeah, the eyes are so slow. The blinks don't feel natural. Yeah. I remember this girl was a pain to animate. Although I always liked this one. Just her pose at the beginning. I would replace it with the Mario dance because I had it mostly animated, but then the file got corrupted and basically I lost all the animation on it. Yeah, that's why I never finished it. It just kind of disappeared. I might be able to recover it. I never actually did look at the source code, so maybe I could recover something, but who knows. And Lucas, I did see your link there. I'll go over this here and then we can jump back to your question there. It'd be cool if you could drive home the fantasy part of the dancing. Yeah, if I was to do this now, I would definitely do a little bit more transition stuff, probably something in Adobe Premiere, kind of create a little bit more of a that wavy transition versus just a sharp cut. At the time, this is basically what the what's the word I'm looking for? The collaboration wanted. This is the way they wanted it to cut. Yeah, exactly. The two scenes kind of clash without ease. Exactly. That's what I don't like about it. Those two scenes, it's like, oh, there's a dance, and then the next scene, and it's like, what the heck? What happened? It's not clear. Like there should be some sort of dream effect going on here, where we really feel like it's her kind of fantasizing about this, like daydreaming, and then it cuts. There's just a lot of things that, as much as I like some aspects of the shot, there's the other aspects that I don't like. Is like, eh. And I should listen to my own rule. If it's not a yes, cut it. So let's just cut it. Okay, now this shot. This is a tough one for two reasons. One, animation wise, I feel like the weight on this is not nearly heavy enough. They feel kind of light. I'm not a fan of the physicality that I got with this. I feel like I could get a lot more weight nowadays. But this is a shot that I did on a live action plate. So it's actually live action filmed with a camera. I've only got 2 shots like that on my reel. I've got this first one, which I'm not going to use, and then this one. This is a really good thing to have in the sense of, if I wanted to work at, let's say, a VFX studio, it shows that I know how to animate on a plate. So for anyone who doesn't know, a plate is just the live action video. So even though the animation wise is not great, I feel it gives enough right now, until I have time to update it and replace it, that I would want to keep it. Additionally, it shows that I know how to do composition. Not that I would ever announce that publicly, that I did all the rendering and the lighting and whatnot, and even like trying to make it so that his hand goes behind the bar here, like all those little details. That's all, like I did all of it. I wouldn't announce that, but if anyone did ask, I could say, yeah, I did it. So it's a good kind of like showcase of certain skills. So even though animation wise I'm not a huge fan of it, I think I would keep this because it shows those skills. And this is one of the big things, is if a shot shows a good amount of skills and doesn't yeah, I did miss the bounce light on the door. Yeah, there was a lot of stuff that even now, like if I was to re-render this, like there should be a bounce light right here on the character. There should be, even though this is in shadow, there should be some reaction. Like this grate here is somewhat shiny. You can kind of see it right there as the door opens. There's a little bit of a shine on there, which means that as the ogre jumps in and as he blocks the light, that shine should get less. There's a lot of things that I would still I would want to improve on, but at least it shows something. Looks hard to animate on a plate. It's actually not so bad as long as you have the plate. Creating the plate is the hard thing, to be honest. I was given this plate here, but I've had to create one plate on my own before, and it's just tricky. You have to track a lot of motion and make sure all your perspectives and stuff are correct, that you've got the right focal length and all of that set up. How do you find the plates? These were given by Animation Mentor. So in the creatures classes, they actually give you a bunch of plates that you can learn to animate with and use, which is actually really cool. Let's see, I think I missed a couple of things in the chat here. Do you do a lot of tracking animation shots? I haven't done much, honestly. I do mostly full CG shots, but I do like doing animation on plates because it's a totally different way of thinking, because you have to match what's happening on screen. You don't have a choice of going, oh, you know, I'll slow down the camera here for a few frames, or I'll speed up this point here. the camera has to move. Like when this camera comes up at the top here and then starts moving, I have to make sure that I time it so that the ogre leaves first, and then it feels like the camera chases after them. If I move it too soon, then it feels disconnected. If I move it too late, it feels like the camera is leading the shot. So you have to kind of work to your camera, which can be very tricky and very annoying sometimes, but also very fun in a lot of different ways. Let's see. Yeah, the creature classes are really good. So the plates you'll use in the fight or flight course, not the locomotion course. Just be aware of that. It's not both. It's just the one. I would definitely recommend, if you're going to take the creatures, go with the locomotion first, then the fight or flight. It builds up very well if you do it that way. So we've got this shot. I'll keep for now. This shot, no. Not only am I not a fan of this shot, there's a lot of physicality stuff that's not working. The posing, not great. It's 4x3. This shot was actually a class 3 shot. So this was done when I was still in class 3. The stuff I've learned since then, that's been so much, is just not worth keeping. There's nothing in this shot that I feel like I couldn't just easily redo in a new shot. Back then you had facial controls in class 3? No. Back then you could take the class 3 rig and then update it to the class 6 rig, or the acting rigs. So you could just transfer the animation from one rig to the next, which was really cool. It meant that a lot of it had to be reanimated and adjusted. So some of it didn't quite work, but it means that I got this. So yeah, there's just not that much in here that I would want to keep. It doesn't showcase. It really just doesn't showcase much. Now, just a little quick thing here. This was supposed to be moving. Unfortunately, on the final play blast, I didn't have a chance to get it animated. It was supposed to be a television. This is actually reference of me doing a caber toss for my caber toss assignment in class 2. So this is actually a tree Cameron and I cut down, a dead tree that we had in our yard, and we spent like an hour throwing it. So that was fun. That was a good day. That was back when we were in class 2. We actually had to clear the snow. You can actually see like there's snow back here. We just cleared all the snow and then just started throwing the tree around. Our gloves got all covered in ice. It was fun. Yes, a true Scot. Yeah, we had to do the caber toss once in our lives. But it was really fun because we really figured out, like, when you lift a caber, which is a very tall stick, we'll call it a stick, understatement. The weight and the way the balance works is so different than what you would expect, because you're holding it in your hands, so you've got your hands like this, but kind of down, and you're leaning the caber against your shoulder, and you really have to put a lot of shoulder motion in there because most of the weight is way up top. The center of balance is much higher than where you're holding it, which means that any little move swings the whole thing around and really pushed the physicality of it. That was a lot of fun. We learned a lot from that. It was really cool. And Roger, you actually saw it on the demo section. I forgot that it was still in there somewhere. And did you use chainsaws or axes? For this, we used axes. We have both. It's just oftentimes we prefer the axe. It just feels more, I don't know, a better connection between you and the tree versus just the chainsaw. Plus, it's quieter in a sense. There's a lot of loud thwacking sounds, but it was fun. So let's see. moving on. This shot, I think I'll keep. Mostly because I do want a flying shot. I want to keep that on my reel. And I feel like the mechanics still work very well. There's some weight issues right as it lands. I feel like it could be a little bit heavier here. Some arc stuff on the tail. But overall, I feel like the overlap works well. The majority of it works pretty good. If anything, what I would probably want to do is just add some little bit of lighting, just so we can see some shadows under the feet, so we can see the landing a little bit more clearly. Honestly, though, I wouldn't reopen it just for that. Yeah, I think I'll keep this for now until I get the chance to update a new flying shot. There's enough good in here that I'm happy with keeping it. Love the old videos, you two standing and giving awesome demos. Oh, thank you. I do miss that standing desk. I loved having a standing desk. It was much easier to demo things with and move around and kind of step back and do a full a full demo instead of sitting down and kind of pretending. I see a pattern. I think you need to work on acting shots. Yeah. So the big problem right now is my newest student work that I have on my reel is the last work that I did, because I did the character animation program, then I did the creature program. And all of my best work is the work that I did last, because of course I got better. And I've still gotten better, but my reel doesn't reflect that. All of my acting stuff is so old that it's just not worth keeping. Like, there's not even like with this one here, like there's some good stuff in here. Let's mute that. Like, I like how he handles the pencil. I'm glad I kind of got some interaction and stuff with that. But aside from those little details that are okay, there's just nothing in here that goes, you know, that one thing, a recruiter is going to love that. Or that really shows my skill at this. I look at this and I just go, I could do that better. I could do that better. You know, this doesn't work. That should be better. That's terrible. So a lot of it is just you get better with time. And yeah, it's going to be nope on this one. Would you go back and finish and tweak that animation, or would you reanimate it from zero? I would not tweak it personally, and I wouldn't reanimate it. I would animate something new. So this is another thing where, like, I could just reuse this dialogue and reanimate the same idea but make it better. But that's not going to improve my reel. It's just going to be recycling the same thing, the same idea, not getting something new and exciting and interesting. And the big thing with this, in my case, it's not super important because I haven't shown this reel to anyone or no recruiters in like 7 years. But if you're submitting your reel every 6 months, let's say, and you submit your reel with, let's say, this dialogue piece and this idea, and you show it to a recruiter, they'll look at it and go, okay, pretty good, but it's missing some things. Okay, maybe not now. Now you send in your reel 6 months later, and you've reused the same dialogue, the same idea, but you've updated the animation, maybe used different rigs. They'll look at it and go, wait, I've seen this before. What? And all of a sudden it's these questions, and it's not a good thing. It's not a good questions to have, because what it shows them, and let me put it this way, part of the reel is not just showing our animation skills. That's a big part of it. But an even bigger part that a lot of people don't realize is an animation reel shows our creativity. And the reason that is going to be way more important is because animation can be taught very easily, honestly. A studio would much rather hire a student or an animator whose animation is not quite as good, but who has amazing ideas, because they know that they can train the animation part. They can teach you how to do all the mechanics. But if you can show them that you can come up with good ideas, that the next time they see your reel, there's going to be something new and exciting and awe-inspiring. That's going to get you a job way better than improving your animation skills. Both are important, but that creativity, that ability to create new shots and new interesting layouts and compositions and ideas, that's going to be crucial. And when you're showing your reel to recruiters kind of on a routine basis, you want to make sure that you're showing something new with it. So it would be so boring to redo the same shot. I see all the mistakes I did in my old shot and I don't want to redo them. That's the other thing. I remember going through this shot. I remember all the things I had to go through for it. I don't want to have to do it again. I don't want to have to reconstrain all those books. This was a nightmare. I remember that. It sucked. It was a great learning experience, but no, never again. I think there were like 9 constraints just to get all of that to work. All switching on and off. Oh, thank you. I'm going to do a shot with only 1 constraint because I don't need this headache in my life anymore. I feel like my acting for reference holds back the potential of personal work. Yes, that's also very tricky. And something I would recommend on that is hard nowadays. But look into acting lessons. Honestly, if you want to improve your reference and your ability to kind of come up with good ideas, if you have the time, if you have the budget, take some acting lessons. They don't have to be like a full course or anything, but even just some basic acting lessons, some improv, that can be huge. It really is amazing how much that can help kind of get that core idea of a shot down before you even get into the animation. And if that core idea is good, your animation is just going to be even better. You're not having to try and take something that's and then make it good. What if you have an old shot but it needs polish? Do you polish it or do something new? Again, do something new. So for example, I could take, let's say, this shot and go, I like the idea, I like the concept. I could make it like 16:9 and then just repolish it and make it better. The recruiters have already seen this shot. They've seen it, they've gone, okay, yeah, they've made their choice whether this shot they like or they don't. So if I polish it and make it like a little bit better, the next time they see it, they've already made that decision. And most likely, unless there's like drastic changes, most people won't really notice or pay attention to them. So it's better to just cut it, make a new shot that's even better. You'll learn more from it. And then there you go. So in general, sometimes like if I had ever finished this first shot, which was in progress, that would have been a little different because I just put this in for this one job application. And then if I had gone, okay, now I'm going to update and finish it and then put on the finished version, that's a little different because I didn't submit this reel to everyone with this shot on. And it's so unfinished that even if I had, they would see that it was different. So it is very dependent. So let's see. Did you shoot reference for the shots? Yes, I shot reference for all the shots. Even this one I shot reference for. Surprisingly. Let's see. I took acting for TV film class my first year of college. Had a blast. That's awesome. I've done some like studying on acting, but I've never taken courses. There's not really any in this area, but it's something I've always wanted to do. How often do you shoot reference nowadays? For most shots, I would say. Now, the big question is, how often do I follow the reference? And that changes from shot to shot. So even for a cartoony shot, I'll shoot some reference. Like let's say a really cartoony shot where it's just like stretchy characters that are moving in totally unrealistic ways. I might shoot some quick reference. Nothing to get like, oh, I'm gonna have to move like a cartoon. But just to kind of get a feel of what should the composition be, where should the characters move on screen, how's the shot gonna feel, and then I might retime the reference, kind of get a feel of, okay, does this amount of time work? Maybe I should make it faster, slower, and just kind of get a basic idea of the shot before I go into animation. Because in half an hour of shooting reference for like 5-10 minutes, bringing it into my computer, and then doing some quick editing, I can make a ton of decisions on what should work, what won't work, how to improve it before even jumping into Maya. And then once I jump into Maya, I've already answered all those questions instead of trying to figure it out on the fly. So I would say I most often will shoot a reference. Now, again, do I use it all the time? Depends on the shot. If it's a more realistic VFX style shot, I'll probably follow it pretty closely. Cartoony, I might use like a few ideas from the poses, and that's about it. And just kind of, oh, the line of action's this way. Maybe I'll push that. That's about it. Okay, so for example, we only have 3 weeks on our pantomime shot. I like it, but it needs a little bit more polish to get it demo reel worthy. Oh yeah, so in that case, yes, if you're about to put it on your demo reel, yes, definitely polish it. Just because you finished a shot, it doesn't mean that you're done with it. All of these shots here, these are not the versions of the shots that I had when I actually finished the assignment. These are all polished for another few weeks after the assignment. Partly in class 6. So in class 6, you're going to be updating your shots and polishing them up even more. But then afterwards, after the program, I spent even more time polishing up some of the other shots. So a lot of these are not just the shot that I had when I finished the assignment and then done. They're much more polished than that. If you were to actually look at the original version, like for example, this shot here, the first version sucked. It was bad. It was really, really bad. Like the door didn't have any of this swing here. The kick was terrible. There was just so much stuff that did not work. I think the whole run or the walk in was totally different. Yeah, there was a lot of stuff that didn't work in this. And then I polish it afterwards to get it to this point. To the point where now I look at it and it's like, oh, there's so much stuff that doesn't work. Oh, why? So, yes, definitely polish some stuff up. Now, if you've finished or you've actually put it on your reel, sent it out, at that point, if you've already sent out the reel, maybe consider just updating it, just making something new versus trying to polish it. It really depends, but in most cases, better just to update. So, let's see. Once you have everything working, polishing is a blast. You just make it look good. Exactly. The worst part you can do, and this is why a lot of people don't like polishing, is that they don't have everything working yet. Polish is just basically adding in the details, adding in the little things and going, well, how can I make this better? How can I make this better? And you just keep adding little things. Like, for example, in this one here is when the door opens, how the sign reacts a little bit. Little things like that. A little camera shake. That's really fun to do. If you don't have everything working and you're trying to go into polishing, that's when polishing is not fun, because now you're still trying to fix things and polish and fix and it just takes forever. Now, the other thing with polishing that you have to be careful of is the noodling part, where you're adding all these things, but are they actually helping? Are they improving the shot? This is where having people look at your work can be very helpful, because they can kind of give you ideas of, yeah, there's nothing different here. Or just having that, just kind of stepping out of your animation cycle and go, okay, I've been polishing this for like a week or two. Let's give it a break, move on to a new shot, and then come back. So that way you're not just working and working on the same shot forever, because you can literally do that, and that's not good either. At some point you just have to call it a day and go, okay, let's move on. So with all of that, basically, what shots do we have left? Nope. So we have the cat shot. We have the dragon and the ogres. Okay. Yeah, that's what I was expecting. Everything else needs to be cut, honestly. Like, as much as it's kind of being very just most of the reel is gone, it needs it. There's no point in keeping them. It's not going to help me in any way. So with that done, we've cut everything down. We've picked what we want to keep. Again, most cases, if you're updating your reel constantly, you're not going to have to do it this much here. So we've got the cat shot, got the ogres, and we've got the dragon. So at this point, once you figure out what's on your reel, and you might have a lot more shots, you might have a lot less, who knows? Once you know what's on your reel, the next thing that's going to be very important is figuring out, what do I need to add in there? What am I missing on the reel that a recruiter would love to see, or that I just have to put in there? So this is kind of a deep subject, but I'm going to cover it very basically, in the sense that a lot of it comes down to, who are you applying for? So for example, if you're trying to apply to any studio in general, which is good when you're first starting out, basically you need to cover all your bases. So ideally you should have a little bit of everything in your reel. If you know that you are applying only to Pixar or only to that kind of style of studio, you're not doing any VFX, you're not applying to VFX, you're not applying to games, you're not applying to anything else, just that, which I don't recommend when you're first starting out. Don't do that. But later on, when you are trying to apply to a specific studio, you will want to tailor your reel to what they are looking for, which means that you might not have certain things. In this case, let's go with a general reel. I want a reel that I could apply to games, to VFX, to more cartoony places. It kind of covers all the bases. It shows that I can do a little bit of everything, which is actually not a bad thing, because most studios nowadays tend to have a lot of different styles that they can play around with. So a little of everything. Cat, ogres, dragons. Yeah, exactly. That's all I need. Just creatures, nothing more. Yeah, and humans. I think that's what I kind of need here. Bipeds. Oddly enough, most people, when they have reels, most people don't have creatures on their reels. I'm in the case where I have only creatures on my reels, which is not a good thing. And yes, this is Clip Studio Paint. It's my favorite drawing program. So even cutting from the updated reel, it is nice to keep it on Vimeo, for example, so people might see how you improved. No, what I would do is, once you update your reel, just update the link, or just update the video on Vimeo. So in Vimeo, you can actually replace the video and keep the same URL, the same link. So basically, when I update this reel, instead of making a new upload, so it's two different reels, I would just replace it with my new one here, and then the old one's gone, no one's going to see it. What this does is two things. One, it makes sure people can't compare. Not that that's a bad thing. Like sometimes wouldn't it be cool so that they could see how much I've improved? But that can backfire. What if they look and go, oh man, they didn't improve much at all since their last reel. They updated one shot and that's it. It makes it too easy to compare and then to judge you unfairly for your improvements. Maybe in the last 6 months, you were dealing with a loss in the family. You were dealing with a very busy work schedule, and you only had a chance to update one tiny little thing on your reel. If they can look at both reels, they'll go, 6 months and they've only done this little thing? Nah, they don't work hard enough. We don't want that. That's unfair. The other thing is by having it use the same link constantly, when you update your reel, let's say I sent in my reel to ILM, maybe last year sometime, and they're looking at my reel and they go, okay, we'll check back in on this person later. And in the meantime, I work on my reel and update it, and it uses the same link. Now they've still got my reel in their archive, and maybe a year later they go, oh man, we're looking for some animators. Let's look through our archive and see if maybe anyone's still available. They bring up my link, and it's the new reel. It's not the old one from a year ago, it's the new one, which means they get to see all my new work and go, oh, I thought this reel's better than it was before. That's a good thing. So you don't have to do it that way, but there's really no point in having two reels, because all it does is adds confusion. Because sometimes people go, wait, which one's the most recent? If the titles aren't super clear, it can be difficult, or they might just watch the wrong one. You never know. So my reel will stand out. Yeah. Only creatures. Let's see. My strong suit is environment modeling. I'm working on getting better at character modeling next. Nice. When I look for animation jobs, 3D animation jobs for small studios want an animator that rigged as well. Yeah, that's kind of common for really small studios. Usually small studios are looking for generalists, not specifically animators. They want someone who can do a bunch of stuff. If you're just starting out, don't worry about learning all that other stuff. Focus on animation first. That's going to be more important, especially if animation is what you want to do. Once you've kind of learned animation and you're kind of on your way, that's when you can start adding in those extra skills. So we've got the cat, ogre, and the dragon. So at this point, what you should be doing is writing down a list of what does my reel show and what is missing. So let's split this here. And we've got missing. And then what does it show? We'll just put has. So it has, let's actually split this as well here. Creatures. Great. What this tells me right off the bat is my next shots, I don't really have to focus on creatures, do I? Maybe I'll add one in. You never know. But I'm already showing that pretty clearly in my reel. This shouldn't be my focus. It doesn't mean that I can't do it, and we'll talk a bit more about that later, but I don't need to worry about it. So we've got creatures, we've got flight, that's good. We've got quadrupeds, that's good. We've got, I would say, I'm missing weight in my shots. So what I mean by weight is, let's add clarification, very heavy. So if something in my work that I'm not showcasing is heavy creatures. I've got a dragon, but if you actually look at the dragon, where is he? Here? He's actually pretty small. That's a park bench right there. And honestly, in terms of animation, he doesn't feel super heavy. Just kind of mildly heavy. The ogres, they're not that big, and honestly, I feel the weight in here is actually missing a lot. So even though I've got creatures, I'm missing weight in my shot. Something that, like, I'm thinking Pacific Rim, super heavy, or Jurassic Park, like a big T-Rex walking through the scene, or a character in a big mech suit, or something like that. Or even someone carrying something heavy. Something that shows weight. So that is something that I'm missing. Something that I could think about adding in. Okay, what else do I have? Creatures, flight, quads. I am showing interaction, which is good. So I've got the cat interacting with the teddy bear. I've got the ogres interacting with each other, interacting with the environment. So I'm pretty good with that. Now, to be honest, usually you'll want interactions in pretty much any shot that you do. It's just a good way to make the shots look better. So I'll probably want to add that in regardless. Let's see. So let's actually switch to what's missing. Well, one, humans. We're missing acting. There we go. Acting. Pantomime. So body acting. Where you don't have facial acting or anything. It's mostly the body performance. Not that you can't have a face, but it should be a little bit more in the body that really sells. Lip sync. Now, depending on your reel, you might like, these are very basic things that are missing from my reel, which is kind of weird to think about, considering I've been animating for 10 years and I'm missing these very important things on my reel. You might not have these, but you might have something like, oh, you know, I'm missing something with interaction where a character is interacting with another character. There's all my shots, everyone's kind of just separate. I'm missing that contact between people. You find what's missing. You find what you have. This is going to be very important in really trying to sell your skills. And it's going to, the reason we want to do this is that we don't want to just do the same types of shot over and over and over and over. We want to add to our reel. We want to improve it. So we'd make this list, and honestly, the missing part, I'm going to be filling this out on my own as well, because there's so much that I really need to focus on. I want to have well, actually, here, let's actually split this. So we have our missing list. This is everything that's missing that has to go into there. We cannot skip on these things. These have to be at the top of my priority list. No ifs, ands, or buts. They have to be in there. But then we can also add something else. What do we want to animate? And this is just as important, because sure, we need to animate certain things, but what do we want to animate? What's going to inspire us? What have we always wanted to try? And how can we kind of start achieving that? So for example, some things I want to animate are, how to put this, like character interactions, which I'm trying to think of a term that's better than just interactions. Like characters who are like talking and maybe one arm over the other, or maybe someone's giving someone a piggyback ride, or some sort of extreme interaction. Let's put it that way, extreme interaction. It could be a fight scene. Something like that. I want to animate something that really has characters interacting with each other. For example, the cat, he just kind of swats the teddy bear and then that's about it. He lifts it up. It's not that much. The ogres, one jumps on the back of the other, then they never contact each other, and after that. I want a shot that really shows, like maybe a character riding on a horse. Something that, like that level of interaction where they're actually moving with the other character. Now that's an awesome idea. So extreme interaction. What else do I want to animate? I would love to animate a musical. Someone singing or dancing, something to music. Now, That is definitely going to be kind of later on my list. I'll be able to number these and figure out what is more important right now. This is going to be later on, but that is something I've always wanted to animate. I want to animate, how to put this, a rig variety. And this is going to be very important. When you go to most schools, you use the school's rigs. That's very important because you have that, you know that they're good rigs, you know that they work, you can get feedback. Other students have used those rigs, so they know how to fix certain things or avoid certain things. That's very good. But once you're animating on your own, it's good to kind of get out of that just school rig. And especially, for example, my reel, the problem with that, my reel is, look at the variety of rigs. You've got bishop. This is the bishop rig. Bishop. Bishop. Bishop, 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 bishop. Bishop. Bishop and bishop. Great variety. That's not a good variety of rigs to showcase. Let's see, isn't working with an iffy rig and still making it good, really good skill to have? It is, but at the same time, you don't want to have to fight an iffy rig. And most recruiters, they might not know what's a good rig, what's a bad rig. A lot of times the recruiters are just looking at the animations. They're not actually touching those rigs themselves, and they're not keeping up with which rigs are good, which ones are bad. So they won't know in the end either. Honestly, if you can find a good rig, use a good rig. That way you animate faster, get a better product, and you don't have to fight it the whole time. So in my case, I want a rig variety. I don't want to have 2 shots with the same rig if possible. Now, on top of that, I really want, and this is something I've always wanted to do on my shots, but unfortunately when I was a student, we had 1 rig. I want a racial variety because that's something that needs to be more, I need to spell variety properly. That needs to be something that is more common in animation. So regardless of which rigs I pick, I want to make sure that I have a variety of races in there. It's not just going to be white person, white person, white person, white person, white person. That's going to suck. My reels will be like that for years, and I don't like it, and now I've got the opportunity to change it, so I will. So I want rig variety. Now this means that I'll just create a collection of rigs that I want to use. So for example, let's kind of make another section here. Rigs. There's the Dana rig. There's the Zelda rig. Zelda Link rig. There's the new Aang rig, which I haven't tried, but seems really cool. There's the, what was it, Sam and something rig. Like there, you just make a list of all of the rigs that you really like. And this way you kind of have a collection of which ones you want to do. Now with that, the other thing I would do is put them in a list of, for example, the Dana rig. What kind of shots would I want to do with that? I've tested the Dana rig a little bit, and one thing I'm not a fan of, it's a really cool rig, I love it. One thing I'm not a huge fan of is the lip sync controls. It's just not super detailed. Not the way I would want to really detail the lip sync. Now, does that mean I should avoid doing lip sync with it? No. But I do know that to get the detail that I want in there, I'm going to have to put a lot of blend shapes, a lot of extra work and time in that. So maybe I save the Dana rig for a mechanics shot. Still have the facial animation, smiles and whatnot, but I don't have to do all the lip sync. It's more just a mechanics shot. Or maybe she's just a secondary character in the scene, and I use another rig that's got better lip sync controls. Zelda and Link rigs. Again, they're very good for mechanics, not super great for lip sync in terms of high detail. Doesn't mean that you have to avoid them completely, no. But it lets you start kind of figuring out, okay, I know I have to, I've got these rigs that are great for facial stuff, these rigs not so good. And now you can start putting them into different shots based on that. Now another rig that I do want to use is the Gorgeous George rig. I cannot spell. George. George. I want to use him. So you start writing all this down. Now, unfortunately, I probably won't have time to write everything I want down, but this is something that I'll be working on in the next few weeks and really trying to tie down what I want, what I need, especially like what is missing here, and trying to address those. What else do I want to animate? I've always wanted to animate a fight scene. I kind of did it with the ogre and dragon, but that never got done. So do a fight, musical / dance. Now another thing I really want to do is an emotional scene. I can spell an emotional. I really want to do an emotional scene. So what I mean by that is a scene that doesn't end on a joke, that's not funny, but is emotional. And it could be in the sense that it does mean it's sad, but the characters really feel angry, or they're laughing at their own joke in their own world. Maybe the scene itself isn't funny, but we feel that the character is actually laughing. I want to yeah, exactly. Film yourself when Maya crashes. Pure emotional reference. Anger, sadness, despair. So I want to really create an emotional scene, something that is really fun. Excuse me. Let's see. Oh, have you ever considered participating in the Anim Challenge? It would be fun to see your streams of the animation during the process. I have thought of that. But it would depend on my schedule. That's the main thing. My schedule is super busy, so trying to find time to animate other than on stream is very tricky. Let's see. My reel, I want to make people laugh, cry, and say, damn, that's cool. Yeah, so that's really it too. Like, try to get that variety of emotions. It shouldn't always just be a gag, haha, funny, funny. Try to get people to feel a range of things. Make them sad, make them laugh, make them go, oh my god, that was awesome. That's gonna be cool. So like when I have a fight scene, that's what I want, is like that really cool physicality. Or like, for example, I kind of want to try, and this is something I've never done before, but I do want to give it a try. I don't know if there's a name for it, but I'm going to call it Sakuga. So this is a Japanese term typically used for animation that is really, really cool. It's like, you know those Japanese fight scenes where like the camera is super distorted and the character is going to punch into the super exaggerated animation, and the camera flips around and the character's tumbling in the ground, and there's just this like super amount of motion in there. I'd love to animate something like that. Something like Studio Trigger. Exactly. Studio Trigger is masters at that. So I want to animate something along those lines. That would be really cool. Hey, and Sir Wade. Oh man. Hey, welcome. Gotta do the dance. Hey, I hope the move went well. I haven't had a chance to jump into your streams since you got back, but I've missed them. There was this void of like content there, and also just on demo reel, since we're talking about that, Sir Wade, for anyone who doesn't know, just released an amazing YouTube video on demo reels. I believe it was 20 tips for demo reels. I would highly recommend checking that out. I watched it. Did you release it last week? I forget when it was released. I watched it when it got released, and it's really, really good. Lots of good tips in there. Highly recommend. Okay, yeah, it was last week. My times aren't too jumbled. So yeah, and for anyone who doesn't know, I doubt anyone doesn't know who Sir Wade is. He is an awesome YouTuber / Twitch streamer. You can find his links down below there. If you're interested in learning animation or kind of getting into that kind of stuff, I would say his resources are some of the best that you can watch. It is really good tips. Add a unicorn to your shot. Well, I could turn Gorgeous George into a unicorn. You never know. That could be interesting. I could even give him wings and create a winged unicorn. That would be awesome. Actually, that would actually be really cool. If I could find a bird rig, so it's kind of feathered wings and not like bat wings, although that would be kind of cool too. I could set it up so that I could do both and have a winged unicorn. That would definitely put the reel apart, honestly. I'm gonna write that down, because I can't think of any reel that I've seen recently that had a winged unicorn on it. It would be glamorous. I'd have to make sure I put sparkles in there. Sparkles and rainbows. So let's see. Trying to think what else I want to animate. Things that I've always wanted to either try or do. Actually, one thing, a cartoony shot. I've never really animated a cartoony shot for myself. All of my shots that I've animated for myself tend to be much more realistic, a little bit more on the VFX side, you could say. So those are awesome emotes. That's so cool. So a cartoony shot just for myself, because I would love to animate a cartoony shot just for me. What else? I think those are kind of the main ones that I want to do. Actually, no. I want to do, what would be the right word for it? I'll put it this way, a cinematic shot. So what I mean by cinematic is I want to use cameras to really tell an interesting story. Either make something look huge, make it look tiny, maybe have like a chase happening where the camera's moving through the scene, and like maybe they're thinking of Jurassic Park, like driving and trying to escape from a T-Rex that's chasing them. Something along those lines, like something dramatic and cinematic. Something like that would be really cool. Now, another thing to keep in mind when you're putting all of this together, like take your time with this. It doesn't have to be rushed. I'm kind of just throwing things out there, but take your time. I'm going to be spending probably the next week going over this and really going into detail. These are kind of broad things, but really dive in, especially on the missing part. This is kind of the most important. What do you need to put on your reel that's not there right now? But another thing to keep in mind with all of this is that you don't have to have each one separate. Keep in mind that the ideal length for a reel is less than 1.5 minutes. Usually less than a minute is better. Like about a minute, somewhere around there. You don't want to go too much longer than that. You especially very rarely want to go over 1.5 minutes. That's too long. My reel right now, my old ancient reel, is 1.5 minutes. Now, to be fair, that also includes the like beginning part here and the ending. But that's about 1.5 minutes. I don't want to go longer than this. So even though I'm taking out a lot of shots, I don't want to add more than I already had in here. That's not the point. So I'm not going to add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 shots. That's too much. How many have I actually cut out, just out of curiosity? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I cut out 5 shots. I'm not going to add 7 unless they're really short. That's not the point. And your reel, you might have a full reel already, and you'll find your weakest shot and you want to replace it. Well, again, it doesn't mean that you have to add a ton to replace it and keep getting longer and longer and longer. But what you can do is mix things. So for example, what if I did a cartoony dance? Instead of just a dance shot, what if I did a dance that's just super cartoony, where the character is just zipping around and getting all these really weird noodly shapes and just go all out with it? What if I make an emotional shot that's very cinematic, where it's just go on super close-up shots and then have it pan out to a character just standing alone? I don't know, maybe at a funeral or something, like go for that sadness in there. What if I do a fight that's, well, mostly likely going to be kind of that Sakuga style, where it's just super epic, extreme motion, and I could even add some extreme interaction with there, where the characters are just, maybe there's 2 characters and they're just fighting and punching each other and grappling and throwing. That could yeah, the music did change to fit. So suddenly, instead of 7 different shots, I've got 3. And now I can also go, okay, what am I missing? Wait, where would that go? Well, what if I put a heavy creature in that Sakuga style? So now instead of fighting 2 people, it's a mech and a person. So maybe a mech, or like a mech's just trying to crush this little person, and they're trying to dodge out of the way, and they crawl up the arm and try to disengage it. Something like Evangelion, or I don't know, something like that, Pacific Rim, like that kind of fight between a small person and a huge mech, or maybe even just 2 mechs, maybe a dinosaur and a mech. Ooh, that could be kind of cool. Suddenly, I'm taking those things I want to animate, and I'm adding in those things, and you can see how already I'm coming up with ideas just by saying it. Just by having it written down, I can think of, how do I want to incorporate that? The acting, well, that would most likely go with the emotional scene here. I could do some lip sync with that. The pantomime, I could put that into the dance shot. So how do I incorporate that? Well, maybe instead of just the character just dancing the whole time, maybe there's this kind of beginning part where, I don't know, like just coming off the top of my head, maybe they're at prom, maybe, and they're just kind of sitting there waiting for the dance, no one's inviting them, and then you see someone like invite them over to dance, and it's like, oh, me? And it's like that kind of nervous, okay, and then they start dancing, and it's just the most awkward, horrible dance that's just super cartoony, and they're like, they do the worm on the floor, and just like horrible dancing, like the disco, like just go all out with the worst kind of dances. I would just have to do a Google search for like worst dances, and there you go, I've got my reference. And now I've got some pantomime, a cartoony shot, dancing, acting, because the beginning would have a little bit of acting. There you go. I've got an idea already. All because I wrote all these down. And this is the big thing, is I see a lot of people kind of, and oddly enough, this goes right back to the beginning when we were talking about that slump after you graduate. When you graduate, there's this moment where, what do I do next? How do I improve? What do I do? it's a very tough thing to do. Makes me want to headbang. I could just take my headphones off. I've got the hair now. I could get that headbanging, like get the hair swinging, everything. Hurt my neck. Now my hair is gonna bother me. Oh, headphones falling. Do it. My hair needs to be a little longer, unfortunately. It's not quite like that full head banging. I should do it just for the reference, though. But do it. No. How is Palpatine? Is do it. It's more snooty. So before I do it, I just want to finish that thought, or else I'm going to be on a whole other set of tangents. Is when you hit that slump, by writing things down, write what you want to animate. Just because you have to fill in gaps in your reel, it doesn't mean that you have to animate things you don't want to animate. You could... I see a lot of people when they see like gaps in their reels, they go, I have to add in a lip sync shot. I don't want to do lip sync. I want to do this. I want to do a fight scene. I want to do like something epic. Okay. Well, why can't you do both? What if you have a fight scene and partway through the fight, lip sync doesn't have to be much. It's just like maybe they stop in the middle of the fight and like wipe some blood off their nose and go, come on. And like just kind of do that hand wave, something like that. Or that's all you got. Something like a one-liner thing. Or like look at Arnold Schwarzenegger movies. Like, just pick a one-liner from there. It doesn't have to be much, but now you've got lip sync in a fight scene. And you've animated what you want to animate. I just hit my microphone. You've animated that thing that you want to animate. And it gives you a starting point. That's the important thing. Animation is so hard to do on its own that when you just try to animate in a void, so I need to add a shot on my reel. What could I do? You've literally got the world of possibilities in front of you. That is, most people tend to think when they have that is, wow, I could do anything. Yes, no limitations. Woo! The opposite is true. Limitations are better. If you have every opportunity to do any shot you ever want to do, most people hit a wall right away where it's like they can't decide. What do I do? Should I do this? Or is this? Which one's better? I don't know. Maybe if I do this combination here, but they can't decide. And in the end, they basically freeze up on themselves. And I've seen this happen over and over and over and over again. And the simple solution to that is write down this basic stuff. What do you have? Which is basically things that you don't need to worry about. So for example, I don't need to worry about quadrupeds right now. I've got a lot of other things that I need to worry about. I don't need to have a character flying. Does it mean that I can't do it? No. But of all the choices that I have, this is not on the top of my priority list. I don't need creatures. Does it mean that I can't put a winged unicorn in my shot? No. But it makes sure that I don't just put a winged unicorn in my shot. I need a human character. I need a biped. So it makes sure that you know what you should be aiming for. What's missing? This is the most important thing. You want to have this so that you know how you can improve. And I should actually clarify, like, what's missing or needs improving. So maybe you have lip sync, but your lip sync is just awful. Maybe it's just like, it's just not good. Well, that should be a focus. So for me, my weight. I've got characters with weight in it, but none of them feel very heavy for creatures. So I would want to really push that. Really push that weight in there. Why did I put needs lip sync? No, that's not what I wanted to write. Writing what I'm saying. needs improvement. That's what. I can't speak and spell at the same time. So this is kind of the goal. You go through your reel, you find out what's not working, you cut it out, and you basically go, okay, I need to replace this shot. So now that that shot's gone, what does my reel need to have added in? And what do I want to do? Because if you want to do it, you're going to be so much more inspired to actually work on it than if you're just doing a shot because you have to. So this is something I'm going to be doing this whole week. And maybe by Friday stream, I might show my end result here. Depends on how much time I have to work on it and if I actually do finish it by Friday. But this is something that I want to do. I want to start working on my reel. Not for any specific reason, because it's not like I'm really looking to apply anywhere, honestly, right now. Although if it happens, it happens. But mostly because my reel is old and it needs to be updated. Now, actually, just another thing another want that you could do is you could maybe want to do a specific style of animation. So maybe since we talked about it before, a Last Airbender style animation, where you just have someone like using earth bending or something like that. You could be inspired by something, a different show, maybe Owl House. Like, oh man, I really love how they do the witches in Owl House. Wouldn't it be cool if I did a shot like that of a character riding a broom or something? Be inspired by other sources. But I hope this was kind of helpful in kind of seeing how to put it, the process to go into updating your reel. That it's not just winging it and throwing things in and hoping for the best. That it's, as long as you think through what you need, what you already have, what you want to do, that's just as important. It not only will help guide your reel to make it better, but honestly makes it easier to figure out what to animate, because you can actually come up with more ideas more quickly than if you're just kind of trying to come up with anything. Oh, I don't know, I need a shot. If you write it all down, you'll have a list, and already, like, I've got a list of all sorts of ideas that I can do, and not only that, I can switch things around. Going a little bit different. What if instead of a musical dance that's cartoony, what if I do this? A musical / dance with extreme interaction, where characters are dancing and they're grabbing each other and lifting each other in the air and dipping each other, compared to a cartoony fight. Oh, suddenly totally new ideas. I've got a shot with two characters fighting each other, and it could be like Tom and Jerry, where they're just smacking each other with a hammer, and their whole face just kind of gets that big squash pose, and then it just kind of stays like that, and they turn their eyes angrily at the other person and just like start getting that like dust ball fighting, with just, you see the arms and legs coming out at certain points. Like, just go all out with it. Another idea, like, that's just like top of the head. Does it mean it's good? No, not at all. But that's an idea I didn't have 2 seconds ago. Literally 2 seconds ago. Well, maybe 10 seconds ago. Like, compared to if someone had told me, okay, come up with an idea for a shot. So yeah, I hope that helps.